Picture this. It's a quiet Friday afternoon in New York City. Christmas music is drifting through the walls of a Lower East Side apartment on Clinton Street. The neighbors don't think much of it at first. But then one day passes. Then two. Then three. The music keeps playing. No one answers the door. No one picks up the phone. That's when someone finally calls for a wellness check. And what police find on the other side of that door shocks an entire city and sends shockwaves through Hollywood. Lying face down on the floor is a man the world knows as one of the most terrifying villains ever put on screen. A man who made you grip your armrest in Pulp Fiction. A man who made you believe pure evil could smile and wear a nice suit in The Mask. Peter Greene is dead at 60. And the story of how he got there and how he lived is far more heartbreaking, complicated, and raw than any role he ever played on screen. Stay with me, because this one hits different. Before we go any further, let's be clear about something. Peter Greene was not a household name the way Tom Hanks or Brad Pitt is a household name. He wasn't on magazine covers. He didn't do late-night talk show circuits. He didn't have a publicist texting reporters every time he grabbed coffee in Los Angeles. Peter Greene was something rarer than a movie star. He was a real actor. The kind that makes you forget you're watching a movie. The kind where you don't think about the performance, you just feel it. And in 1994, in the span of a single extraordinary year, he appeared in two of the most talked-about films in Hollywood history and delivered performances so unsettling, so deeply committed, that 3 decades later people still can't shake them. Let's start at the beginning, because where Peter Greene came from matters deeply to understanding who he was and why his work hit the way it did. He was born Peter Greene on May 10, 1965, in Montclair, New Jersey. He grew up in a working-class household, one of 3 children. But home life wasn't easy, and by the time Peter was 15 years old, he made a decision that most teenagers can't even imagine. He ran away. He left New Jersey behind and hit the streets of New York City, a 15-year-old kid with nothing but whatever he could carry. He was homeless. He survived. And in those years on the streets, he encountered the full darkness of what life can look like when you're invisible to the world, when no one is looking out for you, when survival is the only item on the agenda. He battled drug addiction during those years, something he would never hide from. Heroin and cocaine both became part of his story in ways that would follow him for the rest of his life. But then something happened. He found acting. And acting, by his own account, saved him. It gave him a reason to be present, a craft to master, a way to channel all that pain and experience and intensity into something that mattered. He began training and working the New York independent film circuit in his 20s, and he made his first on-screen appearance in 1990 on the NBC crime drama Hardball. Small roles, small steps, but the foundation was being built. In 1992, he landed his first real leading role in Laws of Gravity, a gritty, raw independent film shot in a nearly documentary style about small-time Brooklyn criminals. The film earned serious critical attention, and Peter Greene was a major reason why. His performance felt lived-in, authentic, dangerous. Not because he was acting dangerous, but because he understood what danger actually looks and sounds like. A year later came Clean Shaven, a deeply disturbing and moving psychological drama in which he played Peter Winter, a man suffering from severe schizophrenia. The film screened at the Cannes Film Festival. Critics were stunned. Here was a young actor doing work that most established stars wouldn't dare touch. Completely exposed. Completely committed. And then came 1994. Quentin Tarantino had been building toward Pulp Fiction for years. The film was an event before it even released. But among all its now iconic scenes and characters, there was one moment, one sequence, that landed like a punch to the stomach. A sequence so disturbing, so unexpected, that audiences sat in stunned silence. Peter Greene played Zed, a sadistic security guard. A man with no moral center, no hesitation, no humanity. His character appears in one of cinema's most disturbing sequences and disappears, but that appearance burns itself permanently into your memory. His manager Greg Edwards said it best years later. Nobody played a bad guy better than Peter. That single role cemented his place in film history. Zed is now one of the most referenced villain characters in movie culture, studied in film schools, cited in essays about Tarantino's craft. And at the center of that character is Peter Greene. But here's what makes 1994 even more remarkable. That same year, Peter Greene also appeared in The Mask. Jim Carrey, Cameron Diaz, a high-energy, comic book fantasy comedy with massive studio backing. And yet there is Peter Greene again, playing Dorian Tyrell, the ruthless mob boss whose menace and rage grounds the entire film in real stakes. In a movie where Jim Carrey is literally turning into a cartoon character, Peter Greene is so convincingly dangerous that you believe every threat he makes. That is an extraordinary acting achievement. To dominate a scene against a force of nature like Carrey at the peak of his comedic powers and never lose the scene, never feel out of place, never seem like a villain in a cartoon world. He made Dorian Tyrell real. 2 legendary villain performances. 2 massive films. Same year. By any measure, 1994 should have launched Peter Greene into a tier of stardom where he was getting major studio offers every week. And in some ways it did. He kept working steadily. In 1995 he appeared in The Usual Suspects, the classic crime thriller that won Kevin Spacey his first Oscar. Greene played Redfoot, a fence who connects the crime crew to a job that spirals catastrophically out of control. His scenes are brief but precise. He elevates every moment he's in. He appeared in Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. He had a memorable role in Training Day in 2001, playing Detective Jeff, a corrupt cop who agrees to be shot in his bulletproof vest as part of Denzel Washington's Alonzo Harris's cover-up scheme. One of his best lines in film, "Kiss me, baby," just before Washington's character shoots him. Again, that dark wit, that complete commitment, that willingness to go to places other actors shy away from. Over the years, he also appeared in Blue Streak alongside Martin Lawrence, in The Bounty Hunter, in the television dramas The Black Donnellys and Life on Mars, in Chicago PD, in Justified, and most recently in The Continental in 2023, the John Wick prequel series on Peacock. Nearly 100 acting credits across more than 3 decades. He never stopped working. He never coasted on the fame of 1994. He kept showing up, kept doing the work. But the road was never smooth. His addiction struggles followed him. In 1998, he was arrested for drug-related crimes. Director Jordan Allen, who worked with him on multiple projects, has spoken about the challenges of working with Greene during those periods. At one point, Allen had to put Greene through rehab just to finish a film. There were moments where Greene's reliability was in question, where his demons seemed to be winning. And yet he kept fighting back. He spoke openly about a suicide attempt in 1996 that led him to seek treatment. He talked about those chapters of his life not with shame, but with honesty, because those chapters were part of who he was and why his performances carried the weight they did. You cannot play that kind of darkness convincingly unless you have genuinely looked into it. By the time of his death in December 2025, Peter Greene was still working. His manager confirmed he had been given a role in an upcoming Mickey Rourke film called Mascots, a project that will now never be completed. He was also working on a documentary called From the American People, The Withdrawal of USAID, producing and narrating it alongside filmmaker Jason Alexander, a documentary about the federal government's withdrawal of funding from the U.S. Agency for International Development. Even in his final months, he was creating. He was contributing. He was engaged with the world. His most recent released film was Clicker, which came out just weeks before his death. On December 12, 2025, neighbors at his Lower East Side apartment, building on Clinton Street, grew concerned. Christmas music had been playing inside his apartment for days. No one had seen him come or go. A wellness check was called. Police responded at 3:25 p.m. and found Peter Greene unresponsive on the floor, face down, with a facial injury and blood. He was pronounced dead at the scene. He was 60 years old. In the days following his death, police confirmed there were no signs of foul play, but the official cause remained pending the medical examiner's findings. Tributes began pouring in from fans and colleagues across social media. Quentin Tarantino fans posted clips of his scene in Pulp Fiction. Mask fans shared screenshots of his glowering presence opposite Jim Carrey. Directors who had worked with him quietly confirmed what those who knew him already knew. He was one of the genuinely great ones, and he never got the mainstream recognition he deserved. Then in February 2026, 2 months after his body was discovered, the New York City office of the chief medical examiner released its findings. The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the left axilla, meaning the left armpit, with injury to the brachial artery. The brachial artery is the major blood vessel supplying blood to the upper arm. A wound to that artery causes rapid and catastrophic blood loss. The manner of death was ruled accidental. Peter Greene had accidentally shot himself. He died alone in his apartment, Christmas music playing, as the world outside went about its business. A note was also found at the scene, in which Greene had written the words, "I'm still a Westie," a reference to the Westies, the notoriously violent Irish-American gang that once controlled the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of Manhattan. Whether that note was written that day or long before is unclear. But it speaks to something about Peter Greene, about the identity he had built, the world he had come from, the persona he had always carried even as he built a career in Hollywood. His manager Greg Edwards confirmed the death and spoke about Greene with visible emotion. "Nobody played a bad guy better than Peter," Edwards said. But he also had a gentle side that most people never saw. A heart as big as gold. He added that he was going to miss him deeply, that Greene was a great friend. The director of Mascots, Carey Mondragon, broke down in tears when notified of the death. They had been preparing to begin production in January 2026. Peter Greene is survived by his son Ryder and by a sister and a brother. He never won an Oscar. He never hosted Saturday Night Live. He never had a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He lived the kind of life that Hollywood loves to celebrate in theory, but rarely rewards in practice. A life of pure craft, pure commitment, and genuine artistic courage. A man who survived the streets of New York as a teenager, who battled addiction for decades, who attempted suicide and came back from it, who kept showing up to sets and delivering performances that other actors studied and filmmakers sought out, who played Zed, who played Dorian Tyrell, who looked into the darkest corners of human behavior and brought those corners to life in ways that stay with you. Zed's dead, but Peter Greene's work, that lives on. In every rewatch of Pulp Fiction, in every viewing of The Mask, in every scene in The Usual Suspects and Training Day where a face flashes across the screen and you think, that guy That guy is the real thing. Rest easy, Peter. You were one of the great ones.